Hey guys, Dan here and Joe.
That's right.
And it is Dan Does Disney. You have not been on this for quite a bit, actually.
Months and months.
Months and months. And actually, I think we're opposite each other where we usually are when we record at your place. I think I'm on the other side,
Yeah.
right? It feels odd.
Well, I think this is the way we typically did
But
it
this
here.
is the way we used to do it. And now that I have no one living in my glorious basement, we can record down here now, and it's all lovely. Most of my videos are down here now.
Think about it. Subconsciously, we got back into our positions pretty easily. So
That is true.
there we go. We knew how to do
That
it.
is true. And we are here to talk about a timely film, by the way.
Ah, yes.
The 101 Dalmatians, the original great version.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I was already thinking, like, when we do this review, I'm going to have one question for Dan so that he can talk about another film, which I know he's going to love to, because we're going to have to. 'Cause I'm like, I was literally, when I was watching, like, I got to ask Dan again.
Yeah.
How much this informs this.
Well, and you knew
I did.
ahead of time this was one of my favorites, because we've talked about how Cruella is one of my favorite villains of all Disney history.
Do you really like her? Yeah.
I really do. She scared the heck out of me as a kid, which was the intent.
She's creepy.
Very creepy. And so the last animated one that you did was Sleeping Beauty, I guess.
Which I loved.
Which you love. That's one of your favorites of all time.
And you were a pretty big fan of it, too.
I was a very big fan. I didn't quite realize how great it was, because I had never really seen it.
I think that's one people dismiss, because Sleeping Beauty, old princess.
Yeah.
But it's a good one.
It's actually a very good one. And this will be your last for quite a while. I forget what one's next, but I think it's a good 2 years after this, maybe. So this is the beginning of 1961.
Mm-hmm.
This was their big January release. $3.6 million for the budget.
Okay.
$303 million for box office. Now that's over all time.
Okay.
That's over. They've released it 5 times in the U.S. and that's worldwide too. So that includes the worldwide stuff.
Do you know how much it made when it was first released?
Yes, actually, its original take almost doubled the budget.
Okay.
Which is good.
Good progress.
6.2. It was the number 8 movie of 1961.
Okay.
2 other Disneys, which actually will be the next ones we do, I think, on Dan Does Disney. Parent Trap and Absent Minded Professor.
They 61
were
as well?
They were the same year. I think they were the next movies after this.
What a year.
So his early 61 was a hit.
Jeez.
Those were both in the top 5 for the year. One of your all-time favorites, not Disney, but
I was gonna say, I don't think so.
From 1961, what do you think the number 1 box office hit was?
In 61?
61. And this is the anniversary year for it. It's one of your favorite films.
Was that West Side Story?
West Side Story.
Oh, well.
Which we'll be reviewing in detail in December for Dan's big movie.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
For the anniversary.
I'm looking forward to talking about that one. So what a popular year for a lot of movies.
I should say so. And I had heard of some of the other ones, but they weren't quite in this camp.
No.
But so this is the 17th animated feature overall.
Okay. We're getting there.
We're getting there to some of the Renaissance years, I guess. But this pulled the studio out of its slump. Sleeping Beauty, as you'll remember, was very expensive and at the time of release, not a huge hit.
What a shame.
Which, yes, really was a shame. But so aside from the revenue, part of the success of this was because they did this new animation technique using a Xerox machine.
Oh.
Okay. And this was the first full-length feature to ever utilize this.
Okay.
And basically during the process of inking and painting traditional animation cells, they just ripped them off the Xerox.
Which explains why there might have been so many duplicates of models for the Dalmatians. I was thinking about that while I was watching. Okay, now I know.
Yes.
They copied them, Xerox.
So that's what kept production costs down.
Cool.
And not only that, it made sense to do it with this movie because your main characters are black and white.
Yeah, I knew that factored in.
Right, so other than their collars, which are colored, everything else about them.
But only the 15 and the parents. The rest of them all were
Well, I guess that's
colorless,
true.
so
I guess that's true. So it would be easier there.
Okay.
All right. So first, it was released.
All the notes over this.
I have a lot of notes.
Loves it.
Well, and because a lot of these notes actually I got from the extras, which we'll talk about. But so it was first re-released in '69. It made $15 million then.
Oh.
So even before the end of the decade, it was like even more of a hit.
Wow. Okay.
Then '79, another re-release, $19 million. '85, $32 million. And then the final release in 1991, $60 million.
Which might have coincided with the VHS release that I watched it with.
Yes, and we'll talk about that. I think the VHS came out just a year or two after that.
Sounds about right.
But so a couple of other things of note that we'll get into either positively or negatively. But this is the first full animated feature without really any songs. You had him singing Cruella de Vil.
And then at the end,
and then at the end, the Dalmatian Plantation.
Plantation.
But that's it.
Yeah, I was thinking this isn't
is
really
not a musical, which, all of the musicals or all of the animateds have been.
Yeah, that is unusual, though. I guess the reputation of Cruella de Vil precedes it, because you go to that song, you think, oh, there are more. Oh yeah, there's no songs.
That's really it until the very last 2 minutes of the movie.
Which is like a reprise almost. It's barely a song.
Yeah,
it's funny, but
So this is also the first to be in a contemporary setting.
Yes,
which I hadn't thought about ever before.
Well, I guess would have it. Probably like 60s.
The only other one that's sort of ambiguous is Lady and the Tramp.
But that's like 20s or
and the only reason that it's semi-related is because there's some Easter eggs with the Jock in this movie, and etc.
And some of the dogs at the pound.
Some of the dogs at the pound are the same. Yeah. So all right, maybe, but
reference.
All of their other animateds, at least the full-blown
fantasy
animated ones, have been medieval mostly, or Alice in Wonderland was
fantastic.
So
this one's like 60s, right? Like supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, this takes place in present day. The dogs are watching TV with all the Canine Crunchies commercials. They drive down the street and see the neon lights. One of them, which said XXX. Thought that was a bit extreme, but
I thought
you could get away with back then.
When he talks about ripping out the guy's throat, I thought that was pretty extreme. And then Mother's like, "Where'd you get that kind of talk?" Like, there's some dark.
For a G, I think this is.
It's a hard PG.
No, this is a G for sure.
I'm just saying,
hard G.
Modern sense, I think there were some more adult things. You picked up on, like that's pretty dark stuff. You're saying
it's just so odd what
Disney does.
Well, just what the people what the MPAA let people get away with.
Oh,
because they're animated, so it's like, oh, okay, well, whatever.
Because in context of the show, which is like a Lone Ranger meets like Lassie sort of thing, it's like, oh man, the dog is ripped the guy's throat. Right. That's literally what the dog says, the gizzard. And like,
keep in mind, at this point on TV, you couldn't even say the word pregnant. When I Love Lucy was pregnant, they couldn't even say it. They said they had to say she was with child or whatever. It was so stupid.
How did she end up that way? Well, no, she just
the old stork. But anyway, so in addition to the contemporary time period, we also advance the score into a contemporary jazz score, which we can talk about.
That is one thing I did want to say was the first thing as I sat down watching was like, finally, Dan, music
something
that's
we can
not
talk about. I know.
About
the Dalmatians.
It's jazz. It's like that was like, okay, it's different.
So
different music.
These are all things that we're going to talk in detail about, but I just wanted to point those out as sort of the touchstones for why this movie is so important. Cruella, we know, one of my favorites, but AFI agrees.
Oh yeah,
she ranked number 39 on the 100 villains list.
I see that.
Okay, so this had 3 directors. We didn't really talk about the directors, but I wanted to point these guys out because most of them have done a lot of things with the studio.
Okay.
And so I kind of was looking back at some of the other ones. Most of the animated films have 6 or more directors. This one, just the 3. It had this guy, Clyde Giromini, who did Cinderella, Bambi, Peter Pan, Sleeping Beauty, and a whole lot more. He co-directed all of those. Hamilton Lusk, who directed or produced almost everything from Pinocchio up until this.
Wow.
And then Wolfgang Reitherman, what a name.
I know.
Who directed or produced 8 consecutive animated films. This was the first, all the way to The Fox and the Hound 20 years later.
So you got some experienced directors.
Yeah, these are some classic Disneys.
Huh.
So this movie is based on a book.
You didn't know that either.
Which I'm not sure I realized. And the book is not that old either. It's from 1956.
Huh.
So also kind of set in contemporary times. Dodie Smith wrote the book and actually had in mind while she was writing it that Walt should make a movie of it.
Oh.
So when he optioned the book a year later, perfect. This is what I wanted. Whatever. So Bill Peet was assigned to write the story the first time ever that a single person did it.
Okay, usually it's a bunch of people.
He always has, the old 9 men were contributing or whatever. So Cruella had a husband and a cat in the book that got eliminated for the film. And Walt loved the whole thing. What a great story, he said. And then Dodie Smith herself, the author of the book, loved the design. She said it's better than her own illustrations for the book.
Cool.
So big time. All right. So options the book in 1957. Sleeping Beauty comes out in 1959. Big Bomb. not a bomb, but it was an expensive movie.
Underperformed ambition.
So they had actually considered shutting down the animation division.
Wow.
Which I had never heard before. Because obviously, as you know, Tim and I know, he's making all of these live action movies, some of which are, you know, being big hits, like the Shaggy Dog.
Cheaper to do, probably.
And cheaper to do. In fact, the quote is, I don't think we can continue. It's too expensive. But obviously, he got to start in animation, so he wanted to somehow keep it alive. So then this dude, Ub Iwerks, who we've talked about a couple of times, he worked with Disney back to the 20s, suggested this new Xeroxing capability. And they said, all right, well, maybe. So by 59, he had modified the Xerox camera to be able to do it. So anyway, they did it for one little thing in Sleeping Beauty, one of the Thorn Forest, just to see how it might work.
Okay.
And then he did a full short with it about this elephant that looks like Dumbo, but apparently it's not.
Okay.
It's called Goliath 2, so I guess the name of the elephant's Goliath. But so he did it with a short, and he realized, okay, like it's not really losing any of the crispness. I personally do think, just because Sleeping Beauty was so gorgeous,
they look pretty good.
That I do think, not that it's bad animation here, but it's a little bit less precise with the lines of the characters' faces and stuff like that.
Yeah, when I was watching it, I thought that there is certainly a lot of fluidity to a lot of the character models and stuff. So I definitely thought it was a distinctive style that was very unique. And honestly, I thought the design of the humans and just the obviously the architecture stuff, it seemed very much of the time.
Yeah,
like it was giving
very hip,
very 60s feel.
Right.
Like it didn't seem like it was coming from older architecture or artwork like Sleeping Beauty was. But it almost seemed like maybe that is the Xerox. It felt like I was seeing a lot more sketching. Like I was watching,
right,
and it looked like it wasn't fully processed.
Well, and they had big issues with that too, because the people had to, because of the Xerox thing, they couldn't have any sort of like pen marks. So other people would have to come in and literally just like erase all the little pen marks and erasures around the drawings.
I will say one thing that this movie did that I think might have something to do with the Xeroxing or that sort of showing the sketch process is, remember the opening, they actually kind of play around with it a little bit, like they just show you the base models, almost like you're watching the process.
God, I love that opening.
Like
the
opening was very cool.
Very 60s.
And then they actually slowly like colored in. They take parts and we're actually watching like the different parts of the process. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So through it all, it cost about half of what it would have to animate all the dogs in their spots if they did not use the Xerox process.
Now, with the Xeroxing, does that mean that they still kept the same number of staff artists, or they were able to do it with less people?
Well, so they did it with a couple of less people.
Okay.
Some of the old nine old men, whatever, did work on it. Mark Davis, in fact, is one of the 9 old men. This was his last feature.
Oh.
And he designed and drew Cruella for every frame of this movie. So props to him for sure. But they had a separate crew just to draw the spots, because each Dalmatian had specific spots in specific places. So I think they maybe sort of took people that, okay, we're going to work, for 6 months straight doing these drawings. No, we're going to just draw it once, do the Xerox bit, and then turn it over to you to draw some dots and stuff. But the studio was doing so many things by then. I'm sure, maybe the same amount of people didn't work on this, but they were all working. Like, I don't think he laid people off to do the Xerox process.
Okay. I was just like,
what I mean?
Is that one reason they're trying to cut costs, save money?
Yeah, no, it's just easier for them to do it. But
labor-wise, sure.
Labor-wise, yeah. So Disney did not actually like the look of it once it was all said and done. Hated it, actually. And told this guy, Ken Anderson, who was the one that proposed the use of the Xerox, he said, I hate this, whatever. But it was done, whatever.
Put it out.
And what's interesting is there's letters on this DVD that Walt wrote to the author of the book.
Okay.
And he is just gushing about, oh, this looks so great, I love it so much. Turns out that might have been
a lie.
A bit of a lie. He did not like it. But anyway, like before with some of the models they would use, they built a model car with springs in it, to simulate the movement of Cruella's mobile. Because
Yeah.
think about it, all of the other movies took place in medieval times, so there were
Carriages
no
and stuff.
cars,
Yeah. Well,
carriages,
all right.
horses, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess even Lady the Tramp, they would carriages still too.
I believe
I
so.
don't think they had
Yeah.
many cars, so that makes sense. And the
So
movement of the cars simulated was actually impressive. Like I always liked,
yeah.
even more. I always really remembered a horse in Jasper's car. There,
Yeah,
looks
that's
like
a
it's like
classic.
falling apart and
Yeah, it
chugging
was
along.
yeah, sort of jumping along the road,
Hmm.
and they would use like this sand reef to simulate the snow. You know, and like in that one scene where she
Oh,
goes into the
I
snow.
like always liked the way like how they animated snow is cool, and it looks like they're
Hmm.
capturing not just snow, but how you might get like soot in there, so it looks
Yeah,
like dirty snow.
yeah.
Like that looked really cool.
So very,
Yeah.
very cool on that. All right, what else can I say? Separate crew to draw the spots. We talked about that. Yeah,
Basically,
that's really it. I mean, from some of the things I learned. So we'll talk a little bit more about what's on the DVD later, but let's talk about the actual movie itself.
Mhm.
We've already sort of hit on some of the positives, I think,
Yeah.
in our discussion. But why don't you give us, for those that don't know,
Uh,
a description of what happens in this movie?
You always give me the easy job. Like,
Well,
so
yeah, it's
synopsizing
pretty easy.
101 Dalmatians isn't super
I spend hours with the
complicated.
bonus features to come up with the background, and you just say, "Well,
Just like
Cruella de Vil wants to make
coats,
a
out
bunch
of
of coats
puppies.
out of
All right,
puppies."
goodbye.
That's it.
Watch the movie. No, no, but yeah, basically it follows the Pongos. It's Pongo and what's Perdita?
Perdita.
Perdita.
Yep.
Yeah, that's him and the other dog. Basically, he gets.
And you know, of course, who voices Pongo?
I
Time Machine.
Oh, is it Time
Rod
Machine?
Taylor. Yeah.
Oh, I knew it. I was like, I reckon. I
Pre-Time Machine.
feel like I'm hearing some of these voices
Yeah.
and recognize them. But
Mhm.
basically, it starts off with him basically getting his owner, or his pet as he refers to him, together with this other lady. Well, of course, as Perdita, female Dalmatian. They meet cute in the park.
That was a meet cute.
Actually, I thought it was funny. They were about to kill each other initially. But then
Yeah.
it changed. Ha ha ha. It's Disney magic.
Yep.
But anyway, they meet up, and Perdita is actually going to give birth to 15 puppies. We find out.
Yep.
They tease that maybe only 14. Maybe one didn't make it.
Did
but
you think they were going to kill that one?
I like that they held on it, like maybe, but no. He was
Yeah,
like, they weren't going to do that. They'll talk about tearing
He
people's
worked
throats
him
out,
back
but
to
they're
life.
not going to kill a little puppy.
Yeah,
Oh,
that'd be
actually,
extreme.
that's the thing
The
I
whole
want to
movie's
say.
about killing puppies, though.
It's so very dark, like it's a classic
Really?
Disney, really. But I like that he gave him the Mr. Miyagi Reiki massage.
That was
thing.
pretty
It
good,
was like,
actually.
okay, let's put some
He
like
did it.
maybe do some energy, some electricity.
Yeah.
And hey, worked.
He definitely did it.
But that was very cute, and yeah, basically that's it. But really, everything seems like it's going fairly well. But then the wife has, I guess, an old school chum. She's good friends
some
with.
sort of business associate, I think.
They said friend
is-
from school.
Yeah,
So
I
there's,
didn't
like,
buy
one-
that though because
Yeah, it
she
was
said
like-
something about.
I thought that she was like a boss.
I
or
thought they were
works-
talking business at one point.
But
so
there's a line where it's like your old school chum, like they knew each other in college or something.
that could be.
It's not a very well defined relationship. One of my issues movie, but
All
but
right.
basically, hey, anyway, Cruella de Vil is her friend,
Her buddy,
her
yeah.
buddy apparently, and could just barge into the house and visit, darling, and talk about, I have a proposition for you. She's really into fur coats. She's obsessed with fur, and just automatically assumes, hey, I want to buy these puppies. I'm gonna kill them. Make a fur coat of them, and
Well, here's why I think they're business associates too, because when they first say no, she tries to like,
well, she talks down to her about the money situation.
yeah, like, oh, you guys
could
don't have
use
any
the
money, yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe she doesn't work though. Maybe the wife doesn't work because he's writing those songs.
She has to work because he's just a musician.
I know.
They have an
and
apartment
listen,
anyway.
his career doesn't take off until the end of the movie.
With one hit, which is the hit Cruella de
Big
Vil.
hit, yeah.
But they meet up. He makes the Cruella de Vil song because he doesn't like her. It's pretty funny. And well, she's upset, obviously, that she can't get it even after they're born. So she hires these goons, these burglar guys, Horace and Jasper, to go in and steal the puppies when everybody else is away. They get stolen, and then
I felt so bad for that maid.
oh,
too.
the maid gets kind
Oh,
of like
man,
sort
she
of
gets-
assaulted, basically.
Yeah, because she doesn't trust them right from the start,
Oh,
but
no.
they barge in anyway.
Oh yeah,
and-
Parliament's protection
Yeah.
agency says you have to inspect
That
this
was a
well.
bunch of
I don't know. I don't
nonsense.
care what the Parliament says, So it's funny. Yeah, the maid was good,
Yeah,
but yeah, she gets
one of
kinda
my
like-
favorite characters actually.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah.
Almost canine. Pong refers to her as with her loyalty. And
That's true.
whatnot. It was a compliment because those humans
Yeah,
can't really get it done.
Well, they call them pets.
Pets. They're the pets.
Yeah,
Which is kind of a funny joke. But basically, after that point, Pongo sets up the barking connection, which is basically barking late at night and sending out
I
like
enjoyed
a
that.
Morse code message, and then all the different dogs throughout the city. And then there's this transition where it goes across the English countryside till it gets to this old farm where we meet probably some of my favorite characters in the movie: the people in the barn, the colonel, the captain, and the sergeant. It's this like sheepdog, horse, and a cat. Cat's actually really one of the great heroes of the movie.
Yeah, cats are great.
Tibbs, Sergeant Tibbs, and they say, "Okay, we've been hearing some puppies over at the old DeVille place. Go find out that's where they are." And Tibbs, the cat, actually goes in and rescues.
Yeah, he really does. He gets them through a hole in the wall.
The wall, and rescues them from getting their heads bashed in and skin. Which
what a cat!
He really is. A kind of an unsung character. The cat actually did do a lot in this movie. I agree
with that.
I really liked him. Up to it, yes. And but they go away, and eventually they do meet up with Pongo and Perdita, and they're slowly gravitated back. Lassie comes in to save the day, essentially.
Actually, yes.
And then there's this Labrador that they come to that works with a grocer. His owner / pet is a grocer, and they're going to sneak on back to London in this truck. And there's this idea, well, we can roll around, pass ourselves off as 101 Labradors.
Really? I mean, look, it was a good idea.
It was a good idea, and they do it in little bits, and it kind of almost works, but then snow starts to melt, and then you see the spots, and then Cruella's like, no, and then there's this big chase scene.
Yeah, she's the one that knows that the dummies don't.
Where she and her henchmen are trying to kill the poor guy who's driving them along with all the dogs.
Yeah.
And then they crash and they manage to get away safely.
And that car, by the way, explodes. I mean, that just goes in pieces.
Yeah, I don't know how well it was constructed, but
probably not very.
And her and her guys come out unscathed, which is another interesting thing to talk about. But then they're reunited happily ever after, and they decide they're going to keep all the Dalmatians and move to a bigger house. And,
yes, because he is rich now from writing that song.
From that song, got that big
Cruella,
hit.
You're a big B.
Cruella, you're a big B.
Cruella, you suck.
Cruella, you
Eat
suck.
my A. Like, I mean, it really is basically what the song was.
I do. You like when he was
It was the '60s
banging?
Version.
It was the G version of F you.
Yeah, he was really like he was plunking away on those those keys.
But yeah, that's essentially the movie.
Okay.
So that's the plot synopsis.
All right, so let's see. So we've already hit on a couple things that we can expand upon. Let's talk first about the score. The jazzy, the current, at least to the time. This was a very jazzy soundtrack. And one of our big complaints has been
music's not been that good.
The sing-songy choral versions
of the choir stuff. I don't even know what it is.
Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty was a little better.
A little better because that was at least recent.
Older,
But like when you're talking about,
I just got so sick of Peter Pan.
All the other stuff.
Oh, Peter Pan.
Yeah, it's all choral. And look, Tim and I have talked about how some of the 50s, like the Davy Crockett song, sort of hipped up the Disney music a little bit. But this is really the first animated one that goes for it. There were a few of the ones when me and Tim were doing the like Melody Time and Fun and Fancy Free, like the compilation ones. There would be like a song or two in each movie that would be more contemporary, a jazzy number, whatever. But I mean, this whole score is really, really well done. It sets the tone right away with the credits, like you said. They're given the the sort of wacky fonts of the credits.
You got the flashing
lights. You're showing all the different Dalmatians sort of like in strips. And it really sets the tone for the movie.
It's a very 60s opening.
It really is. And what's funny is, right, this is like early 60s still.
Well,
but it really, this was sort of what happened until like the Woodstock era of
stylized
69.
like just the weird like overlays in cutouts. 007 like the
007
the weird sort of like that's very much of the time. Or like Thomas Crown Affair had an opening kind of like that. Stuff like that. It just sort of became the thing in the 60s, I guess.
And this is early on. So I think that was very cool. But the whole score throughout is good because there's no songs really except for Cruella.
It's a lot of instrumental stuff.
It's a lot of instrumental stuff. And I really thought it set the pace and the tension very well.
Especially in that last chase scene. It's pretty.
The chase scene, it's fantastic. Even in the more subtle moments, though, like when they're doing the soot thing and they're crossing the street,
and as the drips do
plunk 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 plunk, like with the icicle drips.
Reminds me of Fantasia, honestly. Like you see a visual of like you could have done it without any dialogue and still been And actually, one of the scariest moments is a subtle thing I think where they're trying to do that, and the one puppy's like, she's looking at us, and she's like, she is, and you're
Yeah.
like they really like to animate her. They use it a couple times, Xerox, I guess, where it's from different angles.
That
and just
face,
that like she, and that right there, I thought was creepy because of the anticipation.
Her design is so great, and like I said, this one guy designed her entire thing. He drew every frame of her, and she has always, as you know, been
fabulous.
Well, just scary. But yes, fabulously drawn, effective. Glenn Close was perfect in the live action version, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
and the fur, you know.
He lives for the fur.
Like, how can anyone say no?
And her voice. So the voice is Betty Lou Gerson, who has done a bunch of like varied roles for Disney. She was the narrator in Cinderella, so obviously that has to be more soft spoken and whatever. And on that crime show they're watching, What's My Crime, she voiced the old woman in that. So
did you like that game show?
I loved it, actually.
That's based on a real thing, isn't it?
So there was a game show in the 50s called What's My Line, where you guess their line of work.
Okay.
So you ask them yes, no clues, and you guess what their job was. But here, this show...
It's kind of like Tell the Truth or something.
I guess they're identifying
the murderer. Did you murder somebody? The one question she asked. And I was like, this is a kid's...
I assume there are people in jail already that they bring out to the panel.
But they're like, yeah, I don't know. Yes, you'll get to go up. You'll get to go to a vacation after you fake Death Society.
Yes.
Which is, and I was actually reminded of that because I saw a cool thing where there was an old game show. I guess it was probably like the 50s, early 50s, where it was kind of like a Tell the Truth sort of thing. And it was really awesome. There was this old guy, and these people had to guess, and it turned out that he was a really old man who had been a kid when he saw Abraham Lincoln shot in the theater.
I remember seeing that clip.
I was like, whoa.
I think that was I've Got a Secret.
Yeah. And this is kind of what that reminded me. Like, what was your crime?
All of those old panel shows of the 50s I love, by the way.
All the guests in that show were very bad, by the way. I thought they were just, and they didn't give enough time to answer. I forget.
Well, yeah, they never do, because they had to shuffle through like 4 in one episode. But you know, just that sort of thing, and them watching the Canine Crunchies ads. I mean, we've never seen a TV in a Disney animated short or film to this point.
You'll probably appreciate that TV sense. And that seemed like a very believable thing that would have been on TV around this time.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, everything really that they did, even the Canine Crunchy stuff, harkened back to like commercials of the time.
Was it that annoying? I found it very annoying.
I mean, that's kind of how they were, though.
Get in your head. Would it also follow up with an ad with the guy talking about the product right after?
Yes, because a lot of them were live ads back then. Oh. So you would have the person standing there saying, "Oh, mail in your box tops from Canine Crunchies to win, a free bone for your dog," or whatever it is. Yeah, oh yeah, they would do that all the time. So I thought that was very realistic, very well done. All right, so we love Cruella. We love the score. How about the set design?
The set design was,
I found it very interesting.
Actually, it was one of my favorite parts of the movie. I really love. I guess it's supposed to be like inner city London. I just love that it looks, from what I've seen, just the little houses, little townhouses together, just detail on the brick, and even little things like how the guy is basically a bachelor, and you get the sense like his room is covered with trash and all his instruments all over the place. Like the level of detail to all the settings was really cool.
And it's a very, again, modern sort of way of drawing, because it was very like 50s, 60s kind of beatnik type of art. It seemed like
the artwork itself looked like something you would see on like posters or something.
And especially like in some of the backgrounds, there wasn't as much detail as we usually get in some of these Disney movies, but because of the stylistic, sensibility, it just worked. We didn't need it to be that focused. We didn't need to see what was in every single window, in that high rise or whatever, because of the design. But I really thought it was cool. It's eye catching.
I also liked the DeVille house. The interior of it was pretty cool as well. I liked the little room they were sitting in when they were watching their show, and little details like, did you like that he was drinking like a big thing of alcohol and says, "No, you can't have this"?
Yes, he was drinking a lot of the alcohol. A lot of alcohol in this movie.
Oh yeah,
alcohol and smoking.
And attempted murder.
Which we know. We know all about the murder.
And that,
child endangerment.
But no, they also straight up do try to kill that guy, the truck driver.
Oh yeah, they try to straight up murder him. run him off the road.
Which he was one of the best characters too, because he's like, what is happening? Like,
he didn't know what was going on.
That was pretty good.
But Cruella smokes, of course.
Smokes a lot. I like her big cigarette holder thing.
Yeah, it was very interesting, and
very sophisticated.
The colors of her smoke.
Yeah, it seemed like it was almost a different texture than everything else. Like it was almost like I'd say it was like CGI, but obviously not. It was like an in-camera effect they might have laid over.
Maybe.
It looked like it might have been real smoke.
The green puffs of smoke or whatever.
What the heck is she smoking?
I don't know, man. She's something wacky. Maybe it was weed.
I don't know. I think she was more mellow. I hope. Like,
yeah, you're right.
I don't know.
She's a little amped up to be high on pot.
I guess so.
But all right. So let's see. Artwork's great. Now you said some negatives. One negative
I gotta get some negatives. I gotta be like, oh.
Well, I don't know if that's true. This movie is so good. But I don't understand why they have a maid if they're poor. That one, I question.
Well, look, maybe
right.
We do try to take things into account, and I'm usually pretty good about that.
Mm-hmm.
But considering this movie is trying to be contemporary and clearly has some family-oriented, more adult sensibilities considered, there are little things that, as a person watching, I'm like, you're right. Their economic status. He is a writer, a musician.
Yeah, not a failed, but struggling for sure.
A struggling musician hasn't had a hit. So I don't know, maybe he plays like at bars, never really established.
Yeah, they don't tell us.
And he has this nice inner city, like suburban, London townhouse. And they're, we're going to afford that. We have all these puppies. We're going to take care of. I mean, I know they say they're poor, but like, does she do?
Well, Cruella makes it clear that they can't afford the puppies.
I always assumed, and there's no real evidence of this,
right?
But I always assumed that his bride to be, the lady,
she came from money or something.
I assumed that she had a job where she brought in the bacon.
Okay,
I always assumed
at least some.
Like at least I
not a ton. I think still,
but I was like
some
more steady than him. I had a feeling,
which is also
progressive,
quite progressive,
because that was one of those little
even
touches.
Having two parents
alive
is progressive.
Yeah, basically
for
parents.
A Disney movie. I never heard of that.
And they're like a couple, and they're married, and they're you show those inner house dynamics. I did like that, and it's kind of, I know it's about the dogs, but I kind of wouldn't mind a little more of that, because I liked the initial impression. That was actually one of my favorite things about the movie too, was the opening narration. The classic, we have Pongo talking about his pet and how like of the bachelor life. They say it's really good, but I think it's rather dull. I gotta get this guy hitched, and he has to set.
And then we see all the people coming, and they look like their dogs.
And that was cute.
That was cute.
And they weren't mean to any of the ladies. Like, oh, that's an interesting breed. A little too short.
Yeah,
like, it wasn't like, I was surprised they didn't say anything like that person.
Yeah, especially like in the '60s, for him not make a comment about her weight or her look.
But he was being practical. Like, I gotta find somebody that would work for him.
Yeah.
So nothing mean-spirited.
No,
they all looked like their dogs. I like the poodle lady, actually. She had this.
Yeah, she was good. She had the same sort of
sparkles,
fur lining or whatever.
But I liked that, and I liked the little subtle character things where the lady walking, Perdita, seems like she might be. I got the impression she might be a little uptight or just wants to keep herself reading the book. And I loved how every time they would have just a little animation of her looking over and then looking back. Wasn't necessarily that she was interested. Like, what's this guy doing? Mm-hmm. And like, clearly, like, she's annoyed, and then she leaves. Like, she's not having any of it.
No,
she's not amused. I guess.
But then they did get together.
But they did eventually,
thanks to
the Pongo
basically
not getting. But I liked that whole part. So I liked the But yeah, the specifics of how they live and Cruella's relationship to them, and
it's murky for sure.
And the biggest issue I have with it is sort of weird, because I know you love Cruella. I know you do. Mm-hmm. But unlike a lot of the other villains in the movie, their place is established clearly. Whereas, like, with Cruella, I'm like, okay, so even now, is she...
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Let me finish and think about it. But like, I was annoyed with it, because I'm like, okay, maybe she works with her, but they establish she's a friend or something. She's been around. But I guess... Like,
I wouldn't keep this friend around.
But that's what I'm saying. She is so clearly horrible,
right?
That like, I'm very surprised that this lady, because she's angry when her husband's making fun of her,
right?
But like, based on everything we see in the movie, she has no redeeming qualities.
Yeah, she kind of sucks. But you know what's interesting is I do know people that have had lifelong friends, that sort of will whatever cover for them or be like, oh yeah, that's just Cruella, because they've been friends with them for like
Cruella.
40 years. Love that Cruella.
Maybe she grew up with her or something.
So I actually, even though it is ambiguous, and I agree that that could certainly be a flaw, I do think
you want to say it's
there
realistic?
might be people, where that's a little realistic.
And Dan, I accept that that's a possibility, and you might be right. My problem is, even if that was the case,
not established.
A line would have been
I
nice.
agree.
And that's all I'm saying.
I have to imagine, it's been 25 years since I've seen it, but I have to imagine the Glenn Close version probably elaborated a bit.
I think she works for her or something.
Okay.
I think that might be what you're
and
thinking.
that makes more,
like
that maybe is what I'm thinking
Like
of.
in the Glenn Close, I don't remember it that well either, but we know more about her and what she's about.
Well, because it's a longer movie. I mean, it's a 90s movie, so I'm sure it's longer than
80 minutes.
What is this, 83 minutes or not even, maybe?
And it's like, like I said, I can't give it too hard of a time because the focus is the dogs.
Right.
But it's like, as an adult watching it, I'm like, there's
some questions.
I got some issues with it that are minor.
Okay.
And, well, actually another thing too, and I once again, I have more mixed feelings about Cruella than I wanted to. Like, I know you love her.
Okay, I do.
Because I think she's, from a design perspective and a performance perspective,
great design.
She's a well-functioning villain.
Yeah.
But the problem I guess I have with it is that, much like that, I feel like I wanted, even if she's one-dimensional, I wanted her motivation to be clear. And she's just obsessed with fur to the point where she's willing to do this. And that's all we get.
Dalmatians
are rare,
are precious and so soft, I guess. I don't know.
See,
you're right.
Because
you're right.
To give you another example,
it's a little ambiguous.
Give you another example of why in the previous movie we talked about Sleeping Beauty. Maleficent, great villain, but I always will admit, very one-dimensional. But at least we get why she's mad and why she's doing what she's doing. Even with Cruella, I'm like, so you just got a problem. You're like, she literally is gonna kill this, run him off because you can't find, you already bought like 90 other, you see what I'm saying?
I do.
I just wish it was just, and I guess.
Scary though?
Yes. There are moments where she's scary.
Okay.
But there's also moments where it was hilarious, like her trying to kill the guy. It's kind of like with her, there's sort of like this clashing.
How about when she threw that man in the fire? And then his butt was on fire. Remember that?
Oh yeah. She pushed him, and he was on fire. Well, here's my issue too, and this is why I want to ask you another question.
Okay.
And this will be, go watch this other video for Dan. But
no,
we'll get there. But I want one question for us too. Is that here's another issue I had that maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's another progressive thing. I don't know.
Okay.
Because it's more realistic, I guess. Actually, it's not realistic at all.
I can't wait.
Okay, this is another. One thing I had mixed feelings about with the movie, is that once again the climactic battle, the car chase, as we said, her car explodes,
their car explodes immediately.
They careen over this hill.
Yeah.
Not only are they all alive without a scratch, the only comeuppance Cruella DeVille gets after this is she doesn't get what she wants, and the guy tells her to actually put a sock in it, and that's her punishment.
He tells her off finally.
For a Disney villain, she gets off extremely late. Most of them die horribly, and I'm like, she's a terrible, no, not even go to the cops. We never put it on her.
I guess that's true.
So, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Is that maybe because
can't kill a
at the time
person?
Well, maybe at the time we liked people more than animals. Certainly now it's opposite. If you kill a dog in a movie, I mean, people will pick it. But if you murder 1,200 people, John Wick style, that's fine.
That's true.
That's fine.
I don't know how I feel
In
about
fact,
it.
his entire motivation is that his dog
Based
got murdered.
on a dog.
So maybe at the time, because Cruella doesn't actually try and kill any people, maybe
she's not quite as evil.
I don't know.
But here's the thing.
She's very evil, though. There's a song about her.
Well, this is the thing, though. I don't think Cruella DeVille is like the most evil of evil. There's a lot of Disney villains.
A lot of Disney villains.
So I don't think she's that high up in terms, but she does want to steal these puppies from their owners. So theft. Have them skinned, possibly alive. Well, bash them. But skin these little cute little puppies we are established to like.
Right.
Not good. And also is so obsessed that not only does she treat her employees like crap, she literally tries to murder a man. Okay, to try and get these puppies and doesn't care. So attempted murder is at least on the list.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So she's not, I wouldn't say she's the best person.
Well,
but once again, maybe she's got problems. Like I don't,
she could have problems.
which is why I wanted to ask you.
But there's also a #1 song on the charts called "Cruella Sucks." I mean, that's got to be pretty bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Couldn't she sue for libel or something?
Well, they never say Cruella DeVille.
But didn't they in the actual song? Cruella DeVille.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
That's
I forgot.
Da, 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 da.
You're right.
So you're right. I guess in a sense,
DeVille.
like everybody knows she sucks.
That was before you sued for stuff, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, that actually
that could be.
So that's one thing I had mixed problems with.
Yeah, all right.
But that also leads to my other question.
Yeah.
Because I watched your review actually, but I don't remember. You don't go into spoilers, so this is spoilers for this, so spoilers for the other one too.
Okay.
Obviously, recently the Cruella movie came out, which everybody loved, big time hit, no problems with it. But the good
it
thing,
really was a hit.
No, but Dan, here's the thing: why you liked it, and what I think the point of that movie would be is to add on to this character who's kind of ambiguous, explain her motivations. Does the movie do that well? Would I get something out of that actually? Because I wanted to. I'm like, why did she?
Well, okay. So
not to go too much, but I
there
think
is my Cruella rant video.
You've jabbed it again a couple times.
17, 18 minutes of just me talking about how bad it is, and then again when I reviewed Jungle Cruise, I got my Cruella bits in there. I did not like the film. And I'm in the minority. It's fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
People
I think it's
like
like 75% or something.
Wow.
People seem to like it. Okay.
Okay.
But some of the problems I had with it were not necessarily the origin stuff.
Okay.
So they do explain why she's obsessed specifically with Dalmatians.
Oh.
It's thin.
Is it like they murdered her parents or something?
Dalmatians murdered her mom.
It's like
in a way.
Basically, she's channeled her hatred against Dalmatians.
Correct.
But she also seems to love Dalmatians.
Through Emma Thompson's character.
Because in this one, she just seems to love Dalmatian fur, at least. So it's
the fur.
The fur.
You have to murder them to get that fur. That's what she treasures.
That's
is that fur.
Thin
thin is a bit generous.
Like what?
But look, they
try
give us an explanation
why she's
why she is this way.
Okay.
And that wasn't necessarily my issue with the movie.
Okay.
So, yes, the short answer to your question is yes, they do give her a reason.
Okay.
I don't think it's great.
Glenn Close one might actually be a little better. But she's still pretty hammy.
I don't think we get a lot of origin, though, because I think it's a lot of just current day Cruella.
Yeah.
I don't think we see her growing up, but again, it's been 25 years.
Well, yeah, we don't, but I still think we learn more about, I mean, she's obviously over the top, but she's still, I think we learn more about what she is about.
Yeah. Well, and maybe the book fleshes that out too, because she has that husband, she has a cat.
That might be true.
So that could be part of it too.
Maybe she's more of a cat person, hates dogs, and this is like her revenge thing. I don't know. So
let
us know.
Look, I mean, the writers of the Cruella film, obviously we're not working at Disney in the 60s when this came out, so it's not like these are real reasons, they just kind of made them up.
It's still like silly
as they went along.
It's a Disney movie. It's for kids. I get it, which is why I wanted to ask you. These are some minor issues I kind of have with it. I might have one or two others, but those were some. Do you think that I'm being too hard on it, looking at it because it's a kids movie?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't matter. My everything I said does not matter. Disregard everything I just said.
No.
These are just things that bothered me as I was thinking about them.
As you're watching this movie as an adult,
but even comparing it to other movies, I think that their
lately.
villains might have been a little stronger.
Look, I always, as a kid, was scared of Cruella, but it is true. I never thought as a 6-year-old, okay, well, why doesn't she have any motivation? What is her problem specifically?
She's just a scary lady.
I just knew she was a scary lady, and
which is fine.
Maybe that's all they were going for at the time,
and that's fine.
Obviously, now we want to flesh everybody out because everybody has to have a tragic backstory,
but oddly, well, all right, not to
what do you call that, anti-hero or whatever.
Well, I know we often use the Pixar comparison as like the gold standard
Pinnacle,
for like okay, 6-year-olds can watch it, but it still is very meaty and everybody can get a lot out of it.
Right.
Whereas something like this, I think that people would still like as they grew up, but they would look back on it and we have to look at it differently. Because that's the other issue. Because you can't say both are. I mean, I guess you could say both are.
Well, and okay, all right, you make a good point because
we always say that
one thing that we've noticed, certainly in the really early ones like Pinocchio, Dumbo, are these really, really heavy
emotional
themes.
Like there's a lot of
I will admit,
there's tension in this. There's
there's stakes and there's love for the puppies,
but there's not as much like.
But it's not quite as much about more deep issues.
Okay, all right. Here's the thing.
As Dumbo.
Maybe this is
example.
maybe you're helping me solidify my point here. Maybe some of these issues that I'm drawing attention to with Cruella and everything is that even though I like all these characters, they definitely don't have as much, at least emotional depth as some of the other ones we've talked about.
Right.
Even Lady and the Tramp, which I don't love that movie.
No,
I feel like those characters are more dynamic.
But at the same time, it is hard when your cast is over 100 to maybe
direct everybody.
To give everybody a personality. I certainly think we get personalities for Pongo, Perdita.
Horace and Jasper.
A couple of the Horace and Jasper.
The adults.
I meant it with the dogs though, but there's a couple of dogs in there. The TV loving dog,
the fat dog who's fat because he's hungry.
Yeah, I mean, we get a few little, drips and drives there.
Oh, I didn't care about that. I get it. They're all kids.
I think the parents, we
keep calling them the parents. I
forget who they are. The owners.
Roger and what is the woman's name?
I don't remember.
I don't remember her name. I feel bad. Man and woman. Humans. Good humans.
You're right.
And their maid who they can afford.
And their maid. I love the maid.
Maybe she does it for charity because she loves the dogs.
Maybe. I think all of those people and all the adults really do get some sort of personality.
Oh yeah, they
and some of the people that help the dogs too. We get a little personality. That cat that helps them. He shows us a little bit. Jock comes back.
Oh yeah, no, a lot of the supporting characters I really like. They felt very believable. And once again, I think it's a lot like Lady and the Tramp actually, where it feels like through the animal characters, we're getting people that are giving performances that just seem like believable, like how people talk.
Right.
So I really like that. And that definitely adds something. I guess it's just the I don't know. I guess the core story of it is... I don't
think your negatives are...
They're not major.
But I don't think they're wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's okay to
I feel
nitpick at this movie.
I feel like I'm nitpicking.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of making fun
of it.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think any of these, make it a negative grade, but...
No, I mean, I'm just saying...
But I think they're all valid. Everything you said does make sense.
Dan, remember this, though. We're always trying to look at these great Disney movies and say, like, okay, are they all going to be A+? We got to try.
They're not all A+.
Which actually a couple we didn't really like that much.
We had a couple of negatives in there. I think Peter Pan might have been a negative.
I actually didn't like Peter Pan that much.
And I think Alice in Wonderland was very borderline.
Alice in Wonderland was like okay.
Yeah, I was very borderline.
But most of them have been pretty good.
Most of them have been good. All right, so
yeah,
we could grade it.
Okay.
And then I could talk about this DVD a little bit.
Sure.
With the
Is there anything else you want to say?
Actually, we should grade it and talk about the DVD together because.
Oh.
Well, I don't want people to say, "Oh, there's their grade," and then turn it off.
Oh, okay. Gotta look at.
Gotta. Yeah. I don't know. Is there anything else that we wanted to talk about?
Anything else that maybe I missed or you missed?
No, I think we pretty much covered it all. Now, you had seen this as a child?
Oh, yeah. I watched it a couple times as a kid.
Okay.
But it's probably been, 20 years, maybe more.
And look, as Dan Does Disney continues, I'll eventually do that Glenn Close, I guess.
Yeah.
And both of them.
Yeah.
Because they did 101 and 102.
That's right.
All right. So, in fact, let's talk about all that stuff. So the legacy of this show or this movie. So you've got the live action one. Now the dogs did not talk in those.
Oh.
It was just the humans.
Oh.
Which is interesting.
Wasn't Hugh Laurie one of the Horace or Jasper? Wasn't he one of them?
Oh, maybe. It was before I would have known who Hugh Laurie was.
I think House is one of those
That wouldn't surprise me. He was a big British actor at the time.
He was the tall guy, yeah.
But then there was 2 TV shows.
Oh.
There was 101 Dalmatians, the series, which was 97 to 98 TV season. I think it was Saturday morning cartoon maybe or something.
I believe there was also a computer game that was popular around this time.
Oh, okay. I bet there was. Yeah. And then there was the direct-to-video sequel, 101 Dalmatians 2, Patch's London Adventure.
I'm sure that's great.
In 2003. That's when they did
everything.
All of them.
All of them.
I worked at Hollywood Video from 06 to 08. And I mean, every 3 months there was a new one. Cinderella 3, A Stitch in Time. Like, okay, we got it.
How do you feel about the concept of Bambi 2?
Well, look, I've never watched any of them.
Well, you might eventually.
I might if we decide to go that route. Did I watch?
There's some good ones in there.
Maybe I've seen part of Simba's Pride.
That's probably the best one, actually, the Lion King
But
too,
boy,
yeah.
oh boy, oh boy. All right, so anyway, so then there was another cartoon very recently, 2020. Disney Plus launched 101 Dalmatians Street, which brings the story more into the present day. A descendant of Perdita and Pongo cares for his 97 younger siblings. I guess he's the oldest one of the litter.
Sure.
With his stepsister Dolly's help.
Keep the theme.
I'm surprised I didn't know about this because I tried to review all the new shows, but that one escaped me.
Yeah, wow.
And then of course the Cruella movie we just talked about. You can rent that for $30 on Disney Plus. I don't recommend it. It will be free though on Disney Plus
soon, probably.
Yeah, I think Mulan was 90 days and then it was free. So there's probably only another month or something with Cruella. All right. So the home media, like we talked about, 1991 was the final theater release. Mm-hmm. So 92 was the first VHS.
Okay.
And at the time, it was the 6th best-selling video of all time. 11.1 million copies on that run. Wow. So then in 99, they released it again on VHS as part of the Walt Disney Masterpiece Collection and on Laserdisc that same year as well. There was a bunch of technical issues. It was supposed to come out, I guess, years earlier and didn't. I don't know what was up with that. And then they released it on DVD for 60 days and then put it right back in the vault.
You know, guys,
the Disney Vault.
You got to give people a little more time. It's like
I know, it's crazy.
It's like the stock market or something. Sell, buy.
But that's what they do. They make people get a big rush on the video at the time.
They just like to mess with people.
So the 2-disc DVD is what I have. This is from 2008.
Yeah, and I have to say,
tell me,
I like the color of this one.
Yeah, it's pretty eye-catching, right? It's this burgundy sort of maroonish color.
Yeah.
And so there have been some Blu-ray releases since then. 2012 had one in the UK. In the US, we got it in 2015. And then Blu-ray and download in 2019 for the Walt Disney Signature Collection. Now, they probably have additional features.
Okay.
But I can only grade what I have. So that's the 2-disc set. Some of these I actually have upgraded since we've done the video because I'm like, I know there's more content.
But not this one.
Not this one. This one is a little weird because there's no commentary.
All right.
Instead of commentary, there are 2 separate tracks you can do. One of them is 101 family-friendly facts about the movie and 101 fan facts. So like people more like me who are more interested in the history of Disney or the history of animation. Mm-hmm. And they would come up on the screen like pop-up video style.
And say stuff.
So no commentary like audio-wise, but you could select either of those.
I'm not a fan of that.
No, I really wasn't either. I would have much preferred an audio commentary, but
even if it's Leonard Maltin or somebody, let's talk about how this
they were trying something new here. I'm not sure it worked. Also, there's a great Selena Gomez music video for the Cruella de Vil song. I guess at the time she was probably on Wizards of Waverly Place or whatever. So okay. But then disc 2 is where the real bonus features come in. Okay. So there's a 33-minute making of.
Nice.
And that is where I got a lot of that information up front about the Xerox machines and who did what and all that. And they interview a lot of Pixar people. They interview Brad Bird. They interview that guy that's disgraced, Lasseter. They interview a lot of the animation historians that I've seen on countless of these DVDs.
Yeah.
There's a 7-minute featurette on the making of the character Cruella.
Cool.
And all about that.
Makes sense.
And then there's a featurette about the different letters between Walt Disney and Dodie Smith.
Where he lied to save face and make her feel better.
God bless. God bless.
This sucks.
Also, though, he told her that as soon as she writes another book, like this one, he wants to option it and make it a movie.
Might get a movie.
And she just never did.
Did she like the movie?
Yeah. Unlike, it reminded me the opposite of
Mary
Mr.
Poppins?
Banks. Yeah,
Mary Poppins. Don't destroy my character.
Which, by the way, he was working on by the time of this release. So I'm sure he was like entrenched in that whole hell with
that lady.
With that lady, Emma Thompson again, actually.
Yeah, Emma Thompson again.
Come to think of it. All right, so there's a bunch of art galleries here with storyboards and stuff. All of the TV trailers and radio spots for the re-releases. And then music, there's 6 tracks. This was originally going to have music in it. So there are 6 tracks of abandoned music, a couple of extended pieces, and an alternate take of the Dalmatian Plantation.
Cruella de Mel remix.
Actually, no, that one I don't think was on there. Moby remix or DJ AM or something remix. But anyway, so look, it was fine, but I'm sure the Blu-ray probably has more exciting features.
Yeah.
The 33-minute feature though,
sounds good.
That was very informative, very good. Sorry, movie on the whole, I give an A.
Wow.
As you know, it's one of my favorites. You presented a lot of good points though. So it's not an A+.
Well, I'll tell you what. I was mostly nitpicking. I do like the movie.
Yeah.
But I will admit it's not one that I felt quite as connected to as others. I think the animation...
Yeah, what about the groundbreaking use of the animation, which they then used the Xeroxing for literally 40 years until they came up with CGI?
That is very important.
That's very, very important.
But do I think it looked better than Sleeping Beauty or Pinocchio or Snow White? And honestly, the thing about the Xerox thing was that I was like, well,
I can admit that
it's creative to like make a bunch of models, but then I'm like, well, then there's a bunch of models of the same little Dalmatian. I get it, 101. And I also just I thought
you hate the movie,
and I thought the music was good, but like not as.
I liked the music.
It was good, but I liked some of the other scores more.
Well, look, some of the more classical scores are great.
Mm-hmm.
Can't deny that, and it's unfortunate that this comes right after Sleeping Beauty. If this came after Peter Pan or something, maybe we'd have a different take.
Maybe that's part of my problem.
But Sleeping Beauty, is one of the masterpieces. I think we can admit that.
I love Sleeping Beauty.
And the score is great there.
The music's great there, too.
And the visual component of Sleeping Beauty does not compare to
It's a different thing because it's all hand-painted and stuff.
Right.
And the Xerox, I think, from a technical perspective, is great.
That's pretty cool.
But also, I didn't think the animation was quite as sharp. For me, it's a B+.
Okay.
I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was quite as great as some of the other ones.
I love
really, Cruella de
Cruella de Vil I do love. It's not up there. I mean, I've given a lot of A+. It's not up there with the Dumbos and the Pinocchios and the what have yous. But I have always liked this movie. I've always had, for all of the Disney dog movies.
You don't really like the dog movies that much.
I don't, because I am not a dog person.
Though, you know what I was thinking
Lady
about?
and the Tramp was not that good. It was okay.
That was also another thing. I felt like they used a lot of the same character model. This is about when they start to do that. But anyway,
I can't deny that.
That's okay. They had to learn dog movement. But I thought that was interesting because I knew you and Tim were going to be talking about a lot of dog movies. This might have been tapping into the people love the dog stuff.
Yes, well, and this being a huge hit may have informed Walt.
Do a bunch of live action dogs.
Everybody loves the dogs. We got to get the dog movies in there. Okay.
Was Disney a dog lover? He seemed to love the book.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Big dog lover.
There we go.
Yeah.
Truth comes out.
And of course, Old Yeller, that was the big surprise of all, where they murder that dog.
What?
At the end of Old... Now, stop. You knew that. This isn't Thelma and Louise. You knew that, for God's sake. All right, look. Maybe my A is high.
Look, Dan, here's the thing.
You did bring up some good points.
Here's the thing.
But
I don't think
I'm keeping it.
I'm fine with your grade, but I also know you got a lot of personal love for the movie. And I
do have a soft spot for this movie.
I'm going to say that's what's informing me. I like this one, but I just never loved this much.
Okay.
But I think it's good. The Xerox thing is cool. It's a distinctive style.
It was interesting to see them do it on that featurette.
But it's like we said, it didn't look quite as crisp.
But I have to admit, the lines, like of the faces and stuff, are not as crisp. Yeah. Sleeping Beauty, I actually think... Now, look, we talked a lot about it and how great the animation was.
Watch that video. Yeah.
I actually think the animation in Sleeping Beauty is Disney's pinnacle.
What?
Until...
The Renaissance or something?
Until Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, I never saw Little Mermaid, so I can't count that one. But
no, you're right.
For Beauty and the Beast, I mean, like when you think of all... And maybe it is partially the Xeroxing. Maybe it is that Disney was doing... 10 different projects at the same time.
I'm just saying that the interesting thing about the Xerox is it's really cool and it's innovative, but it was also to save money because they didn't have a bunch of guys painting in little pieces.
Well, and look, because Sleeping Beauty was not a success.
And they were like, it's too much money. So I get
Disney does this all the time. John Carter failed, so now we can't make a Tron 3. Like,
what?
Like they do it. Oh, yeah, Tron 3 was abandoned because Tomorrowland didn't work and John Carter.
I like Tron Legacy though.
I like Tron Legacy.
So I like that more than the original. So but it
didn't make a lot of money.
Well, look,
and it costs a lot.
Oh man, one thing went wrong. We can never do another thing like it again.
Look, this was at a time. This was at a time when Disney didn't have billions of dollars at their disposal.
That's true.
So to lose money on Sleeping Beauty I can see why he almost shut down the animation stuff.
Yeah.
Because his live action movies were doing pretty good.
That's fair. No, I mean, I get it from a business standpoint, but I'm glad he didn't shut it down.
I'm glad he didn't either. Obviously, we wouldn't have all the things.
So I think you're right, though, because I think one-on-one might be sort of like the end for like the classic era.
I actually think this is probably the end of...
Just when did Disney die?
What I call the classic era. 66, I think.
He might have done like
So I think there was one more after this.
Was it Sword and Stone? Or was it something else?
Maybe.
But I forget what it was. We'll watch it eventually. But see, the thing is, I think you're right. We're after Disney died. We're gonna get into the very mixed bag of Disney animated.
Yes.
Until Little Mermaid, when it's like
and Disney live action too. There's a reason that most of those like 70s live action ones, like the Don Knotts, aren't very well remembered.
Yeah, I don't remember.
People don't talk about all the young. I mean, Kurt Russell did like 8 Disney movies when he was a kid.
Computer or whatever.
The computer wore tennis shoes. And nobody talks about them.
Honestly,
they talk about the 60s ones, which is like Absent Minded Professor, Herbie the Love Bug, Freaky Friday, or whatever. Parent Trap. They talk about those, but those live action, like late 60s, mid 70s ones, nobody talks about. So it'll be interesting to go through those because most of them I've never seen.
That'll be new.
Yeah. But all right, so my next one with you, we don't know. Yeah, maybe Sword in the Stone.
I guess we'll look it up to let them know. It'll be.
Yeah, I guess we'll look it up.
Right?
Oh, yeah, because Tim has at least the next 10 or 15 of the live actioners.
That's fine.
But I mean, you'll be busy this semester anyway, teaching.
Yeah, I'll be busy, so that's fine. But connections interrupted, so we'll never know.
We might have bad Wi-Fi down here, so that might not be happening. But we think it might be Sword in the Stone. I think that makes sense.
I'm just trying to think of. Yeah,
because Jungle Book 70s, Pete's Dragon is 70s.
They had bigger gaps too for a while between them.
Yeah, because of all the live action ones he was doing.
Well, we'll find out. You'll probably let him know.
I mean, the next one with probably any animation might be Mary Poppins. Actually,
oh yeah, I might drop by for that one.
Yeah, we should have a few people on for Mary Poppins.
Animated. I'll drop by for that because I like Mary Poppins.
I do know half animated is a little bit of a stretch, but we do like Mary Poppins.
There's some classic animated elements.
Yeah, some 2D.
And maybe, who knows, maybe Bedknobs and Broomsticks too.
Oh, maybe.
If that's Disney as well, right?
That is Disney. That's live action though, right? Or did they do the same? Is that a hybrid?
They did some animation. They go underwater or something. But that's Angela Lansbury or somebody.
Oh, yeah. Well, she always does
the Mary Poppins the Lesser, they call it.
Oh, is that right?
No, people like it, but
nobody calls it that.
It's Mary Poppins again, but not quite as. It's like witchy or something.
All right, so we're gonna look here. Walt Disney Pictures film.
So we I think let you know.
My Wi-Fi came up here.
Our own.
So Sleeping Beauty 101, Sword in the Stone, very good. So 63, and that was actually right before Mary Poppins.
And then there'll be a gap after that.
Well, another couple of year gap to the Jungle Book. Oh, 67. Okay. And then the Aristocats is 70. Robin Hood 73. So every 1 or 2 years. Winnie the Pooh, 2 and 77 though. Winnie the Pooh and the Rescuers. That's weird.
Oh.
But anyway, we'll talk about all of that in due time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining.
Of course.
And we'll see everybody next time. Bye.
Bye.